Honestly, probably not. Um, I don't think Akambe is like a trap character. There are like trap banners, bait banners, whatever you want to call them, where it's like, oh, this just eats your resources and you don't get that much out of it. I think Akambe is going to be probably the best damage dealers while also being a crazy good support, and he's super fun. It's like a badass character. But when it comes to what's coming up, like we just know at this point, like unless they change everything because I don't know. I never know with XD what they're going to do. But it seems to be that everyone is saying Safia is coming up next. And unless they change it, then that's what we can expect. And that seems to be a must pull unit. I'll be honest, I don't look that far ahead into the stuff. Like I don't know based off her tier list in other region how good she actually is. Same with August, he should be coming up soon. But apparently these units are like top, tier 0 or S tier super units. And Akambe, although super good, is not quite there. So if you're a free-to-play player, this is probably going to be a pass for you. If you're a light spender, it's probably still a pass for you in order to get a, maybe to get both Safia and it might be Sophia. I don't remember exactly. And August when they come out. But if you're a content creator and you get a little bit of support, then getting one copy of Akambe I think is very reasonable. If you're a little bit of a heavy spender, or you just have like, let's say you have a really long way to go to your pity and you're at like 180, 178, 160. You just throw like 2 multis in, see if you get it. I wouldn't go much deeper than that for most players though. But Akambe, I honestly think is super fucking cool. Badass character. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about, this isn't going to be like a full build video. I think I want to do more of a dedicated build video after this. I kind of want to go after his skills and kind of tell you what he's about. And then I also want to kind of go over like a few little fun things about his assassins. But then I'll probably do another video with more like specific battle tactics, specific character pairings, team builds, things like that. But who is Akambe? What does he do? In case you don't know, Akambe is a shadow assassin summoning machine. He is the first dedicated summoner in the game. And I mean, like I've heard people say he's not really a summoner because they like go away after 2 turns, but like he literally summons. He can summon 5 assassins in a turn, and they last for 2 turns. And most of their damage output is probably going to come from assist attacks over those turns. So you could actually do like just a ton of damage with all these assassins. But he basically summons a bunch of assassins. Their main thing is they do follow-up attacks within 5 tiles, so a huge range. But you put these assassins down at a pretty far distance, and when your allies do a single target attack, they will follow up with, boom, attacks after that. They do it 2 times per round. So if you could normally summon 2 assassins a turn with your ultimate ability, you could summon an additional 3, get up to 5. So you could do up to 10 follow-up attacks at whatever, like 35% of their magic attack. So overall, that's their primary purpose. However, they do have a secondary purpose here with Secret Signal, which is a very powerful, I think it's 100% damage, and I think it goes up to 115 if you get a Akambe 3-star, but it's like 100% AoE 2-tile damage. So if you summon a bunch of these assassins, they'll just go through, and you might be able to get 500% damage in one attack. It's harder to set up that way because you need a lot of energy in order to actually set it up. And then you got to make sure people in the right spot, stuff like that. So that's not the easiest, but it's easy to get a 200%. 2 assassins, you do because it's an instant skill, you have them use your Secret Signal, and then you still have them for follow-up attacks. So he really is this shadow assassin ability here. This is a big part of his kit. But let's see what else he actually has. So most of his stuff is going to be front-loaded, which is a little unfortunate because, I mean, it's kind of nice if you get him earlier in the game and you're like a lower-level account, but when rank 11 is kind of like whatever, there's no room. There's just no room. Like, I love Dark's Annihilation. I think it's better on him than any other character in the game because he actually has the energy to use it, but it's just like, when are you actually going to use it? So, level 1, I think Potential Burst is probably the best because he could use this on himself to give himself attack up, defense up, magic defense up. I don't think you're going to have room for this on your bar because he has 3 other abilities that are freaking jacked. But I think that I'm probably never going to use Energy Ray This is particularly bad on this character because it doesn't take any energy. And his whole thing is one of his things is he has 7 or 9 maximum energy, and he recovers extra energy every turn for every 3 that you have. So it's like he has more energy than most characters, than literally every character in the game. And he actually Candlelight works really well with him because of that. But this just doesn't seem like very good. So I'm taking Potential Burst. When you get up to rank 3, I'm going to say you should probably take Squander. These are 2 incredibly good abilities. There's like a huge potential like damage ability because it doesn't look like it does damage because it technically doesn't. But it does give the enemy's magic defense down 2, move down 2, and no assist, and it piles them all up with your Shadow Assassins. So now your Shadow Assassins are actually going to be able to hit them all. So it is an instant skill that'll allow your Shadow Assassins to hit them all while also lowering the enemy's magic defense by 2 stages, which is really good. But that's only half the skill. The other half the skill, these both cost 3 energy, which are expensive. Restore energy to a bunch of allies, that's really good. Decrease their cooldown by a turn, that's fucking sick. And then you grants them attack 2, defense 2, magic defense 2. And then your summoned units, so your Shadow Assassins will get attack 4 instead. So super powerful ability in every situation. Like imagine not using Squander. I mean, it's crazy. Special Claws, I don't love, but it really does help keep him uninjured. So this is actually like if you have a summon unit within 3 tiles, basically the summon unit will just jump in and take the attack instead. I'm sure it doesn't work on AoE, but on single target attacks, he basically can't be killed while he sells assassins. It's good and it's bad. You don't want your assassins to die. However, it does make him really hard to focus down. And so for like PvP, they may not want to even bother attacking him because like you're just spending a single target attack to kill an assassin that you could just kill anyway. So they probably won't even bother attacking him. So it's a really strong deterrent. And honestly, I don't know if Rage is that good. But Burning, both of these at rank 7 are going to be ones that you're probably going to want to pick up. I did not pick this one up yet because I'm not using discipline teams, but this is a discipline team that like best thing for all skills that cost have more than 4 for a cooldown gets reduced by 1. So if it's at 4, it goes down to 3. It's still just kind of like, I'm sure that might make some skills way better, but I'm not actually sure which ones specifically. I'm sure Leonide has something, and I think he's disciplined. Additionally, the increases damage by summon allies by 20%. The issue is, where do you fucking put this in? You can't get rid of your summon assassins ability. I don't feel like. Maybe you can. But like Squander seems like it's just too good. And then this is like your ultimate, Burning Riches. You deal 90% damage to the first enemy in each row. So in a 5x3, huge area, but it's maximum of 5 targets. It's 1 enemy per row. Then you knock them back 2 tiles, which is also really good. But then you summon 3 Shadow Assassins. It's not always 3. You have to have empty spaces in the 3 tiles in front of you, but then you'll get a bunch of Shadow Assassins, and then you gain no energy restored. Now, as a lot of people pointed out in my last video, this could be turned off with the fancy hat. So, and that's basically, once you get to rank 7, you have everything that is him. The other one you can get here is you can get an attack down 1. I don't really care about that. I like having the charged attack because there's a lot of characters that could do attack down style things. And honestly, he's not going to be probably attacking that much, but if he does have to attack, I do want him to be powering up his Burning Riches. But it is interesting. I don't know. Hopefully charge attack is smart enough to not get wasted when you summon Shadow Assassin. Hopefully if you don't need to like lead with Burning Riches. Either way, both of these seem kind of inconsequential to me personally. Now, Darkest Annihilation. I mean, Void Ripple's good, but I don't think you need it here. You have other AoE options. But Darkest Annihilation, this is a lot of damage with armor piercing with a character that has a lot of magic attack. But I mean, it's also extra good on him because 4 energy is sustainable. He could do this every turn. Like, honestly, I think if you're at, if you get up to 9, you go down to 9. It's not quite every turn because, right, you go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Then you go up to 5, 6, 7. 5, you get 6, 7. Yeah, you go up to 7. So you could use it 3 turns in a row, which is insane. No one else can do that. You can do it 3 turns in a row with 0 support. That's impressive. And it's a crazy strong ability. But is it really that much stronger than using... Like, would you rather spend 4 energy to get 180% damage with armor piercing, or spend 4 energy to summon 2 Shadow Assassins and then have them use their secret their secret signal in an AoE. The thing is, the secret signal has a long ass cooldown. I think it does go down over time. It goes down to 3 turns at 5 stars, but really, so why should you, like, if you get 1 copy of Akambe, I actually think at 1 star, he's pretty darn good. He gets a pretty big power spike at 3 stars, which a lot of characters do. He gets up to 9 maximum energy. He gets more attack. And then he already gets the passive energy regeneration. Basically, this is going to make it so his secret signal has a 3-turn cooldown. And then his damage by secret signals increased by 15%. Like, it's all very good, and it makes him way better. But honestly, 7 energy is enough. I'm going to show you a little clip of this in a bit, but basically he can use 2 Shadow Assassins and his ultimate at 7 energy. And then next turn, he's only going to have 1, which is rough, but all of his Shadow Assassins stay up. So if you don't have any energy regeneration, he could just use his attack. They'll all proc their follow-up attack still. Or he could just use his secret signal. He doesn't need to use energy the following turn. So he does kind of burn out a little bit faster, but he still has a ton of potential for really, really good turns. I don't think he's like bricked at 1 star. I think he's very good and very usable. And 3 stars is just a huge power spike, though, I will admit. So I think he's very viable at, he's basically a dedicated damage dealer. However, he does have a little bit, he has 1 good support ability here, which is very good. It lowers cooldowns by 1, restores energy by 1, and does attack up and defense up, you know, both physical, magical. So, I mean, he has 1 really good support ability. And then he's mostly there to deal damage, but it's indirectly dealing damage. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. This is what's tough. Like, obviously, this character is badass and super good, but what's coming out is even more badass and more super good. A lot of people say. However, I do hear that Akambe is really good in PvP, and I hear that he's really good in Tower of Ascension whenever that drops. But I'm sure a lot of characters are. However, he just has the ability to attack from so far away. No matter where he is on the battlefield, he could do a large amount of damage to wherever he needs. Like, if you have like an ally that's really far away from you, you could summon assassins really far away from you. Like, I think the Shadow Assassin has a range of 4. It has a range of 4 tiles, and then the Shadow Assassins have a range of 5 tiles. So he effectively, from wherever he's standing, has a range of 9 tiles away. Actually more, 9, 10, 11, 12, because he can move 3 tiles, right? So he could basically attack anything within 12 tiles away, if there's an ally within that to also proc the attacks, right? So it's not just like he has a range of 12, but he has an effective range of 12 if there's an ally there. So very good, and the damage is great too. But there's actually one more thing I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the Shadow Assassins themselves. I'll probably go into more depth with it in another video here. But one thing I wanted to kind of note was that, I don't know if you guys can see this that well, is that you can double dip on, well, let's take a look at the Shadow Assassin. Who is the Shadow Assassin? They have no basic attack. This is called Hibernate. They can't actually use it. Their reaction is those follow-up attacks that I said, and this is their Vorpal Blade. However, it costs 2 energy, and they only have 1 by default. But one thing I want to highlight here is the attack. So one thing that's super interesting is that their attack is based off of Akambe's attack. Duh, that's obvious. Everyone knows that, it says it in the ability. But what I didn't know is that it's not based off his base stats. It's not based off this number here. It's, right, it says it inherits 85% of his attack. It's 85% of his current attack, not his base attack. So what does this mean? Basically, what I'm trying to communicate is that if you have Akambe summon a Shadow Assassin, and then you buff both of their attacks, it's going to give you this outcome, roughly, right? Or it's not going to give you this outcome. It'll give you like 1 outcome. But if you buff Akambe's attack and then summon a Shadow Assassin, so this is what happened when I summoned a Shadow Assassin, and then before I buffed Akambe, then I gave Akambe attack up, I think it was 1 or 2, and the Shadow Assassin came out stronger. So even if you give Akambe attack up buffs, it will increase this character's attack by a proportional amount. And so what's really interesting is that if you give Akambe an attack up buff, and then it'll give that attack up buff to the Shadow Assassin, essentially. But what it'll also do is that means you could then still give an attack buff to the Shadow Assassin, and the Shadow Assassin will get like a double dip on that. So because they don't actually have a buff. Their base stats are going to be based on what Akabe's current stats are after buffs. But that means that you could then buff them again. So here's what I'm talking about. So right here, we can see here they have let's take a look. I took a couple pictures, but basically what I wanted to show you was, I think I did this before. I didn't buff Akambe, I don't think. And I didn't give him a buff at all, right? They just have like Gloria being around them buff. But you can see here, right? Magic attack of 4,239, but this guy gets up to 5,753 because he has the attack up 4. But basically, if you buff Akambe first, and then you summon the Shadow Assassin, and then you buff the Shadow Assassin, you get astronomically bigger numbers. This is all within the same combat, by the way. This is like, I was just doing this and I was doing abilities in a different order. And one way I did it, where I just summoned the Shadow Assassin, I got 3,374. But when I buffed them in the right order, where I buffed Akambe, summoned, and then buffed this guy, I got up to almost, 5,753, borderline 6,000. And this is still not min-maxed, right? I mean, it is very good, don't get me wrong. But this is about as high as I could go normally, but like I didn't have Gloria put her flag down, right? I mean, she has the aura, but I think you could put the flag down maybe to get more. I don't know. But this is not including damage buffs. This is not including Akambe getting potentially higher than, that magic attack. So I just kind of wanted to point out that you could double dip on buffs with Shadow Assassins. That's one of the things I was curious about. I wanted to know how their scaling worked, and it scales off of his current stats. So you buff him up, you buff the stat to high noon, just get it through the roof, then you summon your Shadow, and then they can they also can't move. I didn't even know that. But then they just get huge. So is he worth buffing? Is he worth buffing? No. Is he worth pulling? I'm just gonna say it's probably not. I do think, like you already know, if you're a collector and you're gonna get one of every character, I think that Akambe is going to be super powerful at even 1 star. And then I would farm him up to 3 stars and then probably cut him off. I don't think you need more than that. There's going to be higher priority units, like Coco, for example, is one of them. But I mean, he's so fun. I mean, I recommend getting him if you can afford it and it's within your budget and it's not going to cause you to miss future units. But if you're being like purely meta, I think that he's probably a pass for now, despite him being so fun and being really cool. Here's the thing. This is a gotcha. Guess what? The next character is probably going to be powerful and fun. And the character after that's probably going to be powerful and fun. But then the character after that one is probably going to be powerful and fun. You know why? Because if they release a unpowerful, unfun character, or just a character that sucks, they're not going to sell it. People aren't going to want it. And then it's not going to sell. So they want to make good units. So I know that it sucks to pass on a unit, but even though he is fantastic, I think that this is probably going to be a skip for me. Not for me, sorry. This is going to be me to advise probably to skip. Unless you could just afford it, in which case, spend that money. So one thing I do want to highlight is that Akambe at 1 star is still really good. Having having 7 max energy will allow you to basically use double Shadow Assassin into your Burning Riches, which is like basically his wombo combo for like team support and damage. You don't have much of a follow-up after that, right? But still, like if you skip a turn or two, or you have someone like Candlelight, you'll absolutely be able to do some cool stuff here. So like even at 1 star, if you want to do something like this, you could drop this down. And then you could even use your pile of riches here. We're going to use it here because it always summons right here, right? And I think if you don't destroy that, I don't think it'll summon the assassin. But then you get all these assassins, right? And one thing that's like is really good about this character is like, let's look at our KA fighter, right? Our KA fighter hits for 320 damage, right? So she has like no stats or equipment. She's only level 40. But even though she only hits for 320, it doesn't matter because A Kanbei is there to help anybody. These characters do have a limit. They can only use it twice per round, but I mean, still, that's 70% damage per assassin per round is actually kind of crazy. So, like, even if you don't buff them, right? Like, this is also what's super important, is you can buff all these guys with attack buffs again. So, like, what I showed you earlier is you can then rebuff these guys, and so they'll get even way, way, way higher stats. And that's not even using, like, like, if you have a Nana here and let them go again, suddenly all these guys can do their AoE attacks. Like, it's absolutely busted. But even then, like, right, she only hits for 381 right now. But if we actually attack, right, 495, and then 400, 500, 700, 700, 900, right? It's almost a kill. That was like, you know, 4,000 damage or something, 5,000 damage from just a normal auto attack from these characters just being around. This isn't even including the secret mission item. So it was just kind of like I wanted to show you like a little highlight of kind of like how you can get all these assassins going. But yeah, in the next video, we'll go with a more dedicated build. You can see like the equipment I'm using here. There are some other pieces of equipment you could use, but I really want to dive into more team comps and stuff like that. So anyway, guys, thank you very much. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I'll see you on the flip-flops. Bye! Platypus on the rise, watch the views go.